Libya has suddenly come out a country where a lot of tourists are going. Their sanctions have been taken off somewhat. Let me also tell you, what about Iran? Iran came to Sri Lanka's rescue when we were in serious trouble, when oil was going up to $147 per barrel, and the speculation was that it would even go up to $200 per barrel. What do? Do you just wait here telling people, sorry, we can't do anything? No, you have to, as a leader of the country, go to the devil if possible, and then find out as much as possible. And they gave 7 months credit. Remember, Iran was also a country, before all these things happened, who gave us a refinery in 1960. It is that refinery which is now being, refurbished and all that. So you can make accusations, but the point that I want to make here again is that who says the West is after us? That may seem to be, but the diplomatic maneuvers, the way the governments work, it doesn't seem to be so. GSP Plus, what did they do? I am not an expert on GSP Plus, but I just want to tell you, having been in government, I can say these things. They started looking at human rights violations, all sorts of things which they would not have used in any other place. That is why I said double standard. Right? GSP Plus was a concession given to this government because of the tsunami issue. Whom are they punishing? They are not punishing the rulers. If they want to, yes, let them do that. They are punishing the people of this country. That is what they even did to Iran. If you want to punish the leader, you take him to a court or whatever, international courts of justice, whatever you have. But you don't go and hammer the people, you see. And that is why the president was against Commonwealth moving against Pakistan. He was the only leader who got up and said it. That is because he said, don't let the people suffer. If you want to take any measures against leaders, there are other ways of doing it. Don't let the people suffer. Because people are not there to, suffer like this. The majority of the country elects a certain party. What about the others who oppose the party? You are hammering them as well. In that case, if you want to be parochial. So, the whole issue of foreign policy, in my understanding, is being handled very well because even the West wanted to be very sure that they are working with Sri Lanka. Let me tell you, when even in the case of Miliband and Kushner on 29th of April, they said, we want to work with Sri Lanka. There are a lot of signals that are coming. We want to work with you. Sri Lanka has never been banned from anything, or nor have been sanctions placed on us. Right? If we were a pariah country or a banana republic or killing people here, obviously all those things would have come. UN hasn't passed a resolution on us. True, countries which wanted to take us to the cleaners did it, but Security Council never passed that sanction. Other countries thought otherwise. Countries like Russia, countries like China, who are the permanent members of the Security Council. So I am not willing to give in to that point that West was going to hammer us. Certainly not. That is not the case. Whilst we had very strong relations with individual bilateral relations with countries like India, China, Iran, Libya, even Myanmar. Myanmar is a country where that's the only country where you have Theravada Buddhism, the two countries, Thailand and Myanmar. Sri Lanka's relations, if you look at, are so steeped in religion, so steeped in some of the cultures that we share. Why are we so close to the Indians? Because of our cultural affinities. So because of our religious affinities, also we are close to Myanmar. So that is what I want to tell you. In a foreign policy perspective, you need to look at all and think, what are those countries that will help us in our times of need, in our times of difficulties, and then go forward, whilst maintaining your non-aligned nature, that you are not aligned to the West, not aligned to the East, not aligned to the communist countries. No, you are aligned to everybody.
With the upcoming election, what the opposition is throwing at the government a lot is the corruption charges. And even in the General's manifesto, it is countering corruption that is foremost on his list. So as a public servant, you see everything that happens. What is your response to these allegations of corruption?
None of these allegations have been substantiated. Let me say that upfront. Why? There are three ways, at least, that I see the opposition could have taken this up. 4 years of government, right? Firstly, they could have brought a no confidence motion in Parliament against a minister, against a particular activity, against the whole government, against the president if they want. They could have done that. Not a single. Number two, if you look at the Commission for Investigation into Serious Bribery and corruption, there is no substantiated complaint made, because then the bribery commission would have taken up. Nothing. No politician has been instigated, no politician has been accused. All hearsay. The third, they could have gone to the Supreme Court on a public litigation case. The only public litigation case that came about recently was for the former government, not for this. You see, there were substantiated allegations of corruption. What about the VAT fraud? It was reported none other than by the Auditor General himself. 350 million we have lost. Nothing has been done. So now we are going into it. We can't even catch that man. The man has gone abroad. He is supposed to be a very close relative of a very strong member of a party belonging to the opposition. So when you look at all this, you can say at this last hour, 11th hour, when the election is about to come, corruption, corruption, corruption. You see, corruption, you have to substantiate. You can't be saying, now they say the Rajapaksa family owns this and that and this. Please go to the land registry. Get someone, get a private detective to do this. Please go to the company's register of companies. Please go to the municipal council. Please go to Pradeshia Sabhas where these assets are supposed to be and ask who is the owner. What is this building plan? I know for sure there was a particular case where they say there are huge palace being built down Malapakuna Road for the defense secretary. The defense secretary was stupefied because he doesn't own a house in this country. And that belonged to a very prominent businesswoman who is putting up that palatial house. That is not a problem. That is her own money. She is putting it up. But to be putting it on to people who are, who don't do this kind of thing, that is very unfair. You remember there was a allegation on Namal Rajapaksa. What did they say? That he had bought an Aston Martin. We went into this thoroughly. Who brought this Aston Martin to this country? Aston Martin to the car was brought to this country by another Namal, someone immediately attributed to Namal Rajapaksa. This is very unfair. So my point is that corruption charges, they must substantiate. Government threw a challenge and said, look, come up with substantiated charges. Prove that this has been done, that has been done. Let me also take about some of these large tenders that they've been talking about. Who does the tendering process? The tendering process is handled by public servants. There is what is called a technical evaluation committee of experts. They go through these prices. They go through the standards. They go through whether it's the lowest, best quotable price or whether it is feasible. I can quote the lowest, my dear, but the problem may be that I may not be able to do with that. So you take the next offer. That is how tenders are evaluated. Then, depending on the value of the tender, there is what is called the cabinet appointed tender board. If it is of a lower value, there is what is called the departmental tender board, then the ministry tender board. Finally, if it is of a very high value, after these officials have looked at it, it goes to the cabinet of ministers. It is very rarely that a cabinet of ministers has changed the findings of an officials committee. Now, these officials committees are appointed not by a minister, not by a particular individual. They are appointed in consultation with the Ministry of Finance by the cabinet. So you have secretaries heading these tender boards. The beauty of the cabinet appointed tender board is that, say supposing, let me take a defense procurement. If a defense procurement is under the defense ministry, the chairman of the tender board of that cabinet appointed tender board is not the defense secretary. It is someone else. It happens to be me, in fact. I am the chairman of the tender board for the defense ministry. The ministry secretary is also a member. That is the rule that we apply, so that I have no stake in it. So I will only go and see, is this right? Is this price quotable? Has the technical evaluation committee given it?